Hi, glad you could make it back. There's always something a little bit sad when a rod seems to have come past the end of its useful life. In fact, really, it's more me than the rod. That's the problem. I'm struggling to cast with it nowadays. I'm tempted to buy a switch rod. But before I do that, I thought I'd do a bit of a DIY job and a bit of a modification on the existing sort of long 6-weight wet fly rod that I've got. And this is basically the result of the video you're about to watch. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about this old rod. It's a Worcestershire fly. Now, it was a Shakespeare attempt to sort of rival Hardy and Sage and make a prestige rod at the time, so it was a lot more expensive than the normal range. And it's special sentimental value to me because in the mid-1980s my wife bought it for me as an engagement present. And as if that wasn't enough, it's become a very, very useful workhorse, and by far my favourite sea trout rod that I've ever had, with many special memories and a lot of fish under its belt. It's very long, 11'4" to start off with when I first bought it, but after a car door accident it became an 11-footer. Now, a long rod is very good for controlling the swing of wet flies. It's why double-handed salmon rods came into being, really. There's that control of the flies on the downstream swing on great big broad salmon rivers. And it's the same thing really for a sea trout rod. Unless you're fishing tiny rivers, a long rod gives you a lot of control. It has a very sort of relaxed, slow, soft action. You have to sort of develop your casting style to be very sort of laid back and relaxed. You just can't rush it. And it's a very soft action, although there's a bit of backbone for playing a good fish. It's a soft action, so you tend not to bump off the sea trout or get snapped off with those sort of crash takes. Sea trout are especially notorious for being lightly hooked, and it's not so much that they're lightly hooked, but when they're fresh in from the sea the mouth is quite soft. Add that there's sort of acrobatics in play and all the jumps and leaps and thrashing, and it's no surprise that the majority of sea trout manage to unhook themselves long before they get anywhere near the angler. So it helps with that a bit as well. It's also had a few salmon under its belt, the odd salmon from these Scottish spate rivers, and it's been my companion on many sort of west coast Scottish salmon rivers as the rain stops and the peaty flows gradually subside, and they're in peat for daytime fishing for sea trout. Also in the black of many nights, casting a surface lure about, and also in salt water, both for bass and more recently sea trout. Of course, rainbows on still water too. The odd trip I've made for the still water rainbow fishing. It's been great for that as well. So you can imagine my disappointment when sort of towards the end of last year I found myself struggling a bit to cast longer than half an hour or so through a bit of RSI in my wrist and also a bit of tennis's elbow as well. Now, around this time I became aware of the growing trend, especially in the USA, to use light double-handed rods for trout fishing, known as switch rods basically. It's caught on in this country as well, but more the sort of the heavier end for salmon fishing. So at a 6-weight I thought, yeah, could we possibly convert it into a light double-hander? And this is what I've done. So basically the plan was to make a butt extension using the sort of core out at the the bottom end of the rod underneath the reel fitting, and also extend the handle up a bit, because the grip of a double hander is slightly different from that of a single hander. Your right hand sits a little bit further up the rod to get that leverage, which sort of splits the strain into both hands instead of just one. Right, so the first thing I want to do is make a butt extension for this. If you look down the end, we've got a sort of a bore hole about maybe, I don't know, 25-30 millimeters long, and then at the end of the carbon section, beyond that it's narrower, so I need to make a sort of stepped spigot to fit in that, really, and glue in. And what I'm thinking of is an old broken spinning rod handle section I've got here. Trim back some of the cork. Trim back some of the cork from there, make the spigot section, and then cut the rest off there, and that gives me a sort of hand-sized sort of grip. And then what I'm going to think about is extending the handle a bit. If it's going to be like a switch rod and a double hander, the main sort of right hand grip wants to be a bit further up, which is just off the end of the handle. So I'm going to have to see if I can get a couple of corks to fit round that, I suppose, and then cut a slot in them, spring them over the section, and then glue them up again. And obviously I'm going to have to move that little hook clip there. I'm going to have to move that a little bit further up the rod. Stiffener. We'll try and cut the cork away now. Down the middle, chunk at a time. Right, so that's a little extension piece. It doesn't fit too badly, actually, that. It gives me sort of the bottom of my double hander. Right, so now comes the grip further up. I want to extend that handle lengthways a bit, so I need to get this off now and see if I can get the cork off intact. Right, so I think this is going to be the best thing. I've got an old chuck key. If anybody remembers those from drills. Oh, I don't know. No, it's going. There we go, it's coming out the other end. Be careful I don't get the chuck key stuck in. It's getting the chuck key back out. There we go, twist it. And it's out. So that's my little cylinder of cork, which you can see right through. With the go, it's cost me absolutely nothing for the materials. so there's nothing to lose if it's a complete failure. So all I've got to cut through now is no steel, just the carbon fibre continuation of that rod blank. That's it. And there we've got a hollow cork, which I'm hoping will just about squeeze over there. So the next job is to remove that little waykeeper ring. I'll move it on further up. Just get the rest of this front bit of whipping off. And since it'll be covered up, it's pointless taking any more off. So now the thing is to glue this on with some epoxy resin. Just check if I can get it to fit. And just wants hollowing out slightly. But now that, you can see the shape coming together now. There's me. So now it's time for the Gorilla Glue. Good coating. And this will expand inside the cork and not only stick it to it but also take up the slack in any gaps. Excellent stuff. So I'll just the completed handle. That's just the core from a bit of electrical wire. Okay, so we'll come back to the rod now the glue's set, and I'm just going to do some sanding off. Now, I think that's probably a workable thing, so I'm going to try it tonight. Fishing for sea trout. I can also sort of rest it against my stomach and save continuously holding the rod while it swings. Yeah, I think it's going to be alright, to be honest. Oh, there we go. Nice trout. What's he hooked on? Oh, he's off. He's gone. Oh, not a bad fish. If you like the video, please consider subscribing, totally free. In the meantime, thanks for watching and take care. Bye.